What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is Bel Air, Season 1, Episode 6. So this whole episode is dealing with the fundraiser charity auction for lupus in memory of Lisa's mom, aka Aunt Viv's best friend, Gail, right? So this whole episode takes place on that day. So we start the episode off. We see Will on his phone bouncing his basketball, and we see Aunt Viv downstairs freaking out because the caterer has canceled on her. She's like, oh my gosh. You know, Uncle Phil is like, don't worry about it. We'll all pitch in. We'll make it, make it do what it do. She said, do you think Hillary will come and help with the cooking? He was like, I don't see why not. But he sort of hesitates when he says it, like, she might, but she might not. But we're gonna stay positive. And Ashley comes along, and Ashley's like, has anybody seen Will today? And then, Aunt Viv is like, nah, I haven't seen her. And she said, oh, because he is getting roasted by his friends back home. And we see where, Trey has posted a picture of him and Will, and he's saying that Will is a snake. He's got like the little snake emoji or whatever, or picture over Will's face. And, of course, the comment section is calling him all kinds of sellouts. Oh, he Bel Air and bougie now. He too good now. And so, of course, this upsets Will. So we see Aunt Viv goes to go check on him. Will is upset, like he about to cry. He's bouncing the ball, and he tells them, just leave me alone. I need some space. So he ends up walking away. Uncle Phil tries to talk to him. He was like, leave me alone. I need some space. And he was like, I got nothing to say to you. And I'm like, damn, why you mad at Uncle Phil? Uncle Phil ain't do nothing, But they go down. He goes downstairs and he's bouncing the basketball. He's like, I'm gonna go see Jazz. And Uncle Phil was like, Will, just give me a minute. Like, let me talk to you for a minute. And Will finally turns around and he bounces the ball, which ends up hitting one of Aunt Viv's pieces of art. Now, I'm not sure if it was a piece of art that was for that silent auction they had, or if it was just something that, a part of her collection. But either way, he broke the daggone vase, piece of art, whatever, So now he knows, like, shit, like I went too far. So Uncle Phil hits him with my office now. So he goes in and he was like, listen, I just need some space. Is that too much to ask? Can I get some space? And he was like, you live in a mansion. You got nothing but space. What's up? And he said, I understand. He said, the reality is you can't take it out on everybody because you and Trey are going through some problems. He was like, no, we're not going through no problems. We're not boys anymore. Like, he's not my friend anymore. And he was like, okay, cool. Like, okay. He said, listen. Here's what you have to understand. In life, you're going to change, you're going to grow, you're going to move, and people are not going to always be in your life. And that's just the reality of it. Like, and as far as the social, the internet and what people are saying, he said, you should see what people are saying about me right now. He's like, especially on Fox News. But he embraces Will, and he just hugs him. He just loves on him, and Will has a moment. He, tears up a little bit. And he tells him, he said, listen, you made a decision to stay here, which means that you are family now. You are part of this family now. And what we not going to do is walk around on eggshells around you. We'll be there. We'll support you. But you can't just be, dogging people out because you're going through something. And I really loved this moment. I thought this moment was so sweet. Like, I really, really loved, that moment with him and Uncle Phil. And then he said, now listen, your Aunt Viv has a really important day, and some people, she needs some help. Some people done bailed out on her. She doesn't have the help that she thought she was going to have. Do you think you could stay and help us? And Will was like, yes, I got you. I can do it. So we see them putting, the decorations in place. Next we see Hillary. She's at her influencer house and she's setting up. She's getting ready to do a tutorial, do a cooking video. And those two pranksters, the two brothers, they end up throwing a frisbee and throwing her off and getting her reaction. And of course, that's their content. They're going to upload that they, pulled this prank on her. And they're telling her, listen, you can put that in your video, make it a part of the video. She was like, no, that's not what I do. Like, my videos are classy. Like, I don't be doing pranks and stuff. And you see that she's frustrated, and they could care less because they got what they need, and she's trying to get set up and stuff, and they're just giving her a hard time. So you see the frustration. And it's at that moment that Aunt Vi calls and asks her to help. And so, of course, she jumps at that opportunity to get out the house to help, right? So now we're back at the house. Everybody's doing their thing. Hillary has shown up. Everybody's doing their thing. And Lisa shows up to kind of do a dry run of the day because her and Carlton are reading this poem and, they're going to be doing their thing. So they go outside to practice, and Will is keeping his promise to Carlton. He's keeping his distance from Lisa, and Vi says something to Will like, this is a really hard day for her. This is always a hard day for her. And so you see Will thinking, kind of thinking again and maybe feeling like maybe he should go say something to her. So we see Will goes outside to talk to her, but it's at that moment when Carlton and her are talking. And Carlton is comforting her because, again, it is a hard day for her. She is thinking about her mom, and, he's comforting her. I think she's telling Carlton about how her stepmom is coming. Come to find out her daddy done got remarried not too long after her mama died, and she's pregnant. And so, of course, she's upset about that. She said, the baby is coming, and they're so excited, and everything is about the baby, and they're going to move. And I just feel like he's doing more and more to just erase my mother's memory. So now we're not even going to be in the house that, where we live with my mom. So while this is going on, Kylo is blowing Hillary up, the head of the influencer house, and he's reminding her, listen, we need your content. And she said, I'm working on a tutorial now. He was like, that's boring. You need to give us something different. And you need to upload it because the algorithm gets thrown off if you go more than a certain amount of time without posting. And so she's like, I got you. She said, I had a family emergency come up, but I'm going to make it happen. And so for the rest of the day, he is like blowing her up, reminding her that she needs to post. So, later on, we see Hillary and Ashley in the kitchen. Ashley's helping Hillary, cook. It's a whole Mardi Gras, Louisiana theme. So she's making roux. We see her doing the roux and the other things they got going on. And Hillary says something to the effect about how important Gwen was to her mom. She said, especially after... And Ashley was like, after what? And she said, well, girl, I guess you old enough now to get the tea. She was like, you just can't spill it. So she ends up letting her know, listen, Aunt Vi and Aunt Viv, they fell out. Well, it's her mama and auntie, They fell out over something. And she said, I think it might have something to do with Will's dad. So when that happened, Uncle Phil cut her off and was like, okay, that's enough. That's enough tea for one day. So again, we keep coming back to Will's daddy. It is something that happened as it relates to Will's daddy. I don't know what it is, but I'm wondering if that's something they're going to carry over into next season and keep us in suspense, or if we're going to get the get down. Now, I heard somewhere that there's definitely going to be a season 2. And we're already on episode 6, and generally we get like 10 episodes somewhere in that ballpark. So I'm wondering if we're going to get to it, but it's definitely something with Will's daddy because it keeps coming up. Every episode they have mentioned Will's daddy, and it has been like this hush over the land when it came to Will's dad, right? We also found out that Uncle Phil has lost the endorsement of, I want to say the LA Times. And so he's put Jeffrey on it to figure out what the deal is and what's going on, why he lost that endorsement. Now, I'm thinking to myself, you shouldn't, they told you last week when you was down to the concert and the chief of police and that local politician came to visit you, they told you it was going to be repercussions for this decision. They told you that things was going to happen that you wasn't going to like, but okay. So Lisa goes to talk to Will, and she, and Will is still giving her the cold shoulder. He's still, not really talking to her. And she's like, what's going on? Why I ain't heard from you? And he said, well, I was just trying to stay out your way. I know you got a lot going on. I know this is a hard day for you. And she was like, yeah. She said, but basically, that's all the more reason why I figured you would be talking to me. And so he ends up kind of snapping at her, and she was like, you know what, you're right. Give me all this, just give me my space, because I don't need this. I don't need your attitude. I don't need this. And of course, he's stuck in a hard spot because he promised Carlton, and Carlton sort of has that information over him. So it's not like he can kind of come back off of that even if he really wanted to. So the party is in full swing. You know, everybody has arrived. The guests have arrived, and we meet Lisa's stepmama. She's there, and she is pregnant. She is like 8-9 months pregnant. You hear me? And you can tell that Aunt Viv ain't feeling her. Aunt Viv's sorority sisters are there. They ain't feeling her. Lisa ain't feeling her, and she can't read the room because she is sitting there talking about, you know, how she would love to say a speech or give a toast, and you could tell that Lisa is not here for it. Lisa don't want no parts of this woman speaking at this event. So they end up changing the subject and asking them about colleges and stuff like that. So just as Lisa starts talking about going to Howard, and one of the sorority sisters was like, oh, that's my alma mater. She was like, girl, if you ever need a letter, I got you. And at that moment where, you know, everybody's praising Lisa, the stepmama, she get the like she having a contraction or something, and they were like, are you okay? She said, yeah, I mean, the baby's kicking. It happens from time to time. So of course everybody giving her the side eye, like, okay, we see you, you know. So then she asked Aunt Vi if she could give a toast, and Aunt Vi was like, yeah, I don't think so. She says it as polite as she can say it, but she says, yeah, no, that's not what we're doing here. That's not what this is about. Like, Lisa got that covered. Lisa's gonna say something, and that's gonna be that. Like, she was like, we got a real tight program. We don't have no space to add you. And she was like, well, I mean, I understand, but it won't be a lot, you know. She was just like, yeah, okay. So then they talked about her going back to work, and she said, oh, well, you know, talk about Lisa's daddy. Well, he's been very supportive of me going back to work, you know, full time as soon as I have, you know, as soon as I feel comfortable after the baby. And they seemed surprised by that. So I'm wondering if he wasn't as open about Lisa's mom working. I'm wondering, because they just sort of looked surprised when she said that, you know. So stepmama corners Aunt Viv again to talk to her about trying to be involved. She said, you know, I know you and Lisa are really close, and I've been trying to connect with her. Can you have any suggestions? And Aunt Viv was like, I mean, you could probably just, you know, give it some time. She said, but I really would like to have more input in this, you know, this event. You know, maybe I could speak this year. And Aunt Viv was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Like, again, she's being as polite as she can be about it. So Will sees the conversation, and Will comes over to try to intervene, and they get to talking, and she was like, oh, you're the nephew they took in. He was like, yeah. She said, yeah. She said, he said, well, you know, the baby's coming. When's the baby due? You know, just trying to distract and change the subject. She said, oh, the baby's coming in 2 months, and I've just been, you know, I can't wait. She said, me and Fred have been talking about having a baby, you know, since our first getaway in Palm Springs. And she was like, have you been to Palm Springs yet? And Will was like, no, I haven't. She said, oh, it's paradise. She said, yeah. She said, we went out there. The first time we went out there, he was playing in a golf tournament, you know, for the LAPD, da-da-da-da-da. And Viv was like, she said, I remember that golf tournament. That was in 2018, right? She was like, yeah. She said, Gwen didn't die until 2019. So then she caught herself and realized, oh, shit. And so she tried to double back. Well, I mean, we were friends. I mean, we weren't, you know, it was nothing. And I'm like, oh, but you was talking about having a baby with him. No, but it was nothing. So Aunt Viv was like, yeah, I need a minute. Like, I need a minute. So, Hillary is talking to the sorority sisters. And Hillary is like, you know, they're talking to Hillary about, you know, how she's doing in the influencer house. And they were like, yeah, you know, well, we think that, you know, your mom seems to think that you're coming back home. And she was like, oh, really? She said, no, I'd be homeless before I'd move back. I'm like, you might want to eat them words, girl. But Aunt Viv, she goes into her studio. And who is in her studio? Mr. Michael Ealy. What's his name? Bryce, Brock, whatever. And I don't like him, y'all. It's something about him that's creepy and pushy. He is all up in this woman's studio, and she was like, this not where the party at. Like, what you doing in here? And he was like, oh, well, I heard you were painting again, and I just couldn't resist. He said, this painting is great. Like, it's ready to be sold. It's ready to be seen. And she was like, well, I'm not, she said, I got an inspiration, but I'm not done with it yet. And he was like, no, really, it is. Like, this could work. He said, I tell you what, put this in the silent auction, and if it sells for $15,000, then you gotta let me, you gotta give me some work to put in my gallery. You gotta give me some work for the gallery. And she was like, I don't know. So as they're talking, Uncle Phil rolls up, and Uncle Phil was like, yeah, so who are you? And they introduce him and everything, and they're like, well, he's a dealer. I mean, has an art gallery, and he was looking at the work or whatever. And Uncle Phil was like, I didn't even know you were painting again. Like, what this man doing up in my house? And so he tells them about the whole, silent auction thing, and how talented she is, and how she's ready to get back out there, yada, yada, yada. So, eventually, and Viv, he sort of puts her in a corner that she's like, well, yeah, I guess I'm putting my art out there. And Uncle Phil he know what's up. He see who this dude is. So they end up, getting ready to leave or whatever, and he's trying to pick up the picture. Uncle Phil was like, that's okay, I'll get somebody to move it. And he was like, no, I got it. He was like, He said, you're a guest. Go do guest type things. I got this. I said, I know that's right, Uncle Phil. You better let him know. So later on, the picture's out there, and of course, Michael Ealy ass gonna bid $15,000 just so he can win the bet. Baby, Uncle Phil came behind him and put $20,000. Okay, he was like, let me tell you what you not gonna do. Okay, $20,000. All right. So, and Aunt Viv was gonna probably get upset when she found out that he did it, but he ain't do it to like undermine Aunt Viv. He did it because he don't trust this dude right here. And later on in the episode, he tells Jeffrey to put it to do some research on him. Do what he does best. So Will is out there walking around, and he walks up on Lisa. Lisa's upset. She's crying. And he was like, listen, I know I said I would give you your space, but you look upset, and I really want to check on you. And she was like, it's fine. You're good. So they end up talking, and she's talking about how upset she is and how much she hates her stepmother and everything. And then she talks about, she said, and you've been, you've been really giving me the cold shoulder. And he said, well, I wasn't trying to intrude on what you and Carlton had going on. And she was like, really? Me and Carlton don't have nothing going on. Like, stop. And he was like, well, listen, that's what I thought. That's how I felt. You and Carlton, And she said, to be perfectly honest, it's been really hard to navigate around Carlton and his issues while I'm dealing with mine. And Will was like, well, yeah, I could definitely understand that. And they kind of laugh about it, make a joke about it. And then you look up, and Carlton is standing out on his balcony, and he can hear the whole conversation. And I was like, oh, Lord, that's going to be a problem. So while this is going on, G comes in, Jeffrey, and he whispers something in Uncle Phil's ear. Uncle Phil was like, are you sure? Jeffrey was like, yeah, I'm sure. He was like, okay, good to know. So now Ashley has invited her little friends over there. Isabella, the girl she's got a crush on, and the little boy the other little boy. And they're having a good time. Of course, they enjoying themselves, and she's showing them all around the house. And she had told Hillary, she was like, I don't know what to do. Like, she's here, I don't know, should I tell her? And Hillary was like, listen, tell her how you feel, but whatever it is, you hold your head up, because you are a queen. You are anybody would love to love you back. Give her the pep talk. So Ashley ends up later on in the day trying to tell the girl that she likes her. But before she can get out that she likes her, she tells Ashley that she's got a crush on Will. So of course Ashley don't know how to handle it. She's upset. She's upset by the whole thing. And she actually ends up sending him home. I mean, she tells him, listen, I got a lot that I got to do for the party. And she ends up sending him home. And so she had her first little heartbreak. And later on, we see, Hillary talking to her. And Hillary telling her, listen, girl, it happens to the best of us. You're going to be all right. You be good. You are a queen. Hold your head up high, okay? And they have a good little sister moment, and I thought that was sweet. She said, "Listen, I always got your back. Like, don't worry about it. I am here." And again, I thought that was a sweet, sister moment that they had going on. So now it's time for the program part of the evening, and I'm not Jeffrey, and Carlton is nowhere to be found, right? And so Will says, "Listen, I'll go look for him." Lisa is like getting nervous because he's not there, and it's time for them to get ready to do their little thing. And Will goes upstairs to look for Carlton, and of course Carlton is upstairs getting high, child. So Will, he comes in there, and he's like, "Yo, what's going on?" And he was like, "No, don't you?" Carlton has a total fit. He goes off. He was like, "Don't come up here. Don't say nothing to me. I heard you and Lisa, talking about me. I wouldn't want to be an emotional burden to you. Like, I heard y'all talking about me." And Will was like, "Yo, I'm sorry. Like, my bad." He said Lisa was upset. I was trying to, comfort her. Like, I didn't mean to hurt you. And he was like, "No." Like, he said, "You were supposed to stay away from her. Why can't you just stay away from her?" And Will tells him, Will said, "Listen, I'm not trying to hurt you. You know what I mean? And this isn't about a personal thing on you, but like, I really, like, Lisa is really cool, and I was just really just trying to be there." And so they get into they actually get into a argument, excuse me. And ultimately Carlton just has a total breakdown. I mean, he is crying. He is, snotting. He's that good cry, that snotting cry, right? And, he even, Will ends up comforting him, and it's a moment, Will says, "Listen," he said, "I can't go down there like this. I can't let them see me like this." And he's trying to get himself together, and Will's like, "Yo, Carlton, chill out. You need to rest. Like, you need to just rest." Like, so Carlton ends up not coming down, and Will ends up doing the reading with Carlton. But you could see Lisa's daddy face when she calls Will upstage instead of Will on stage instead of Carlton. So that's how you know that Fred ain't really feeling Will like that, right? So she does the whole she talked about how her mother loved poetry and how she wrote this poem for her mom. She said she used to read poetry to her mom towards the end when her mother, she said her mother said it helped make her feel better, helped comfort her. And so she does the piece, and her and Will do it, and it's really, really nice. And so when it's over with, here comes stepmama again. Now, here she come wanting to speak. And Aunt Viv was like, "Listen, I have tried to be as nice as I can about this, but no, you can't do nothing. Like, this day is not about you. Don't make it about you." And she was like, "With all due respect, Vivian, I talked to Fred about it, and he said it's fine." Vivian was like, "Well, I tell you what, when Fred has an event at his house, you can do whatever you want. But here in my house, you are not welcome to speak." And now she getting loud because, see, she already upset because she done found out that Fred was cheating on her best friend with this woman that he done married and got a baby by. And that Lisa is upset. And she is trying to do everything in her power to give Lisa a good day and let this event be nice, right? And, baby, she ends up going off on stepmama. So Fred gonna step in, and she ends up giving Fred a piece of her mind too, because again, she mad at Fred because she done found out the secret that she can't really say what the secret is, but baby, she ends up giving it to Fred and the stepmama. And so Fred, he got a little something smart to say, and then here come Uncle Phil was like, "Yeah, because I found out my best so-called best friend is running." He said, "You wonder why you lost that endorsement?" And Uncle Phil was like, "Oh, I know why I lost that endorsement, because my so-called friend is running against me." So Aunt Vi was like, "What? Fred, you running for district attorney?" He was like, "Yep." He was like, "Your platform has changed. And so therefore we had to get somebody in there that we knew we could trust." And he was like, "And I'm going to wipe the floor up with you." And, Uncle Phil was like, "Do the best you can, bruh. Do what you feel like you can do, bruh." So now we find out what Jeffrey had been whispering about, the whole day. And Jeffrey is on it. He told Jeffrey, you know what you need to do with this whole Fred situation. And also, he looking into this whole situation with the with Michael Ealy, little shiesty ass, right? So they ask, after all of the fireworks and stuff were over, they ask about Carlton, and Will said, well, he had to take a nap. He wasn't feeling well. So, of course, Aunt Vi and Uncle Phil kind of give each other that look like, oh, shit. So they sent Ashley to go check on him. And We see Carlton waking up from his nap, and Uncle Phil is there. And Uncle Phil was like, had a long day, Carlton. And he was like, yeah. And of course, he said, I know what it is. So, of course, Carlton is all ready to explain because he think Uncle Phil know his ass was up there snorting that damn Xanax. But he says, no. He said, you had anxiety. He said, you were trying to make this day perfect. You were trying to do the best you could for Lisa, and you just overdid it. And you put too much on yourself, and you had an attack. Because, again, remember, he has a history of it. So, of course, Carlton goes along with it like, yeah, you're right. I might have did a little too much. And then that's when he lets Carlton know that Fred is running against him for DA, and he was like, what? He said, that's messed up. He was like, that's all right. You're going to wipe the floor with him, and they had their little moment. So last but not least, not last but not least, but we see Hillary. She's back at the influencer house, and she's doing her little tutorial, but baby, she's doing it in lingerie. I said, I guess she figured the man told her that she can't just do another boring tutorial. She got to add something to it and, make it do what it do kind of thing. So that's going to be her thing. And I'm sure her daddy is not going to be, she's not showing none of, but it's, she in lingerie, child. So then, we see Lisa with her feet in the pool and she's laughing. And, Will walks up on her. He's like, what's so funny? She said, I'm just thinking about because when they got ready to leave, they were like, come on, Lisa. And Lisa was like, I'm not ready to go. Like, I'm staying here. She was like, can I stay? And Vi was like, of course you can. So she said, I was just laughing at, the look on my stepmother's face when Aunt Vi, told her where to go and how to get there. And, they had a little laugh about it or whatever. And she asked Will, she said, Will, why have you been so distant? And he told her, he said, listen, I think you are incredible. I think you are a wonderful person. I think you are the best woman I've ever known. He said, but I just don't want to make your life more complicated. You got the whole, I just don't want to be one more person you have to maneuver around. Like thinking about what he said earlier about Carlton. But baby, next thing you know, they kissing. Now, I was almost waiting for Carlton to fall out the sky and sumo take Will down and throw him in the pool again. But that's how it ended with the two of them kissing. I said, ooh, this about to get ugly, honey. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.